Good day, dear colleagues. My name is Dr. Vasil Kiryevna, and today we are going to speak about strategies and levels of assessment of learning outcomes according to Bloom's taxonomy. So the term taxonomy, from Greek taxis, it means arrangement, structure, order, and law, refers to a theory of hierarchical structuring of areas that are difficult to classify and systematize in reality, typically existing in fields such as organic world object, geography, geology, linguistics, ethnography, and others. The concept of taxonomy was proposed by Swiss botanist de Candolle in relation to plant classification, the first pedagogical technology created by Bloom in 1956 within the framework of educational technology is characterized by this taxonomy. Bloom and Craswell divided the educational goals into three domains: cognitive domain, requirements for mastering the subject content; psychomotor domain, motor, nervous, muscular activity; affective domain, emotional value area, attitudes of learners. The first taxonomy includes the cognitive domain, which contains 6 categories of goals, each building sequentially on the previous. Knowledge, factual material, terminology, facts, definitions, criteria, and etc. Comprehension, interpretation, dissemination. Application, analysis, relationships, principles of structure. Synthesis, development of a plan and system of possible actions, creation of abstract relationships. Evaluation, judgments based on exciting data, reasoning based on external criteria. Bloom's taxonomy was used by Bernatsky and Guzeeva as a specific qualification tool for determining typical tasks when constructing systems. They provide examples of tasks for students across different subject areas that correspond to learning at various levels. Based on Bloom's taxonomy, Lushin developed a task constructor allowing the creation of tasks with varying complexity, including those requiring the creation of a certain product or involving knowledge from multiple disciplines. An important indicator of learnability is the learning achievement goals, because education is the foundation without which no achievements can be personal or social. Only based on the correct goals of the learning process can we talk about learning outcomes. Bloom's pedagogical taxonomy is the ability to clearly build a system of pedagogical goals within oneself distributed by categories and preceding levels. While taxonomy is a theory of classification and systematization within complex, organized activities with a higher critical structure, pedagogical taxonomy is a clearly created system of pedagogical goals, including results established by categories and levels of process. The most well-known model describing the thinking process in Bloom's taxonomy. It was developed in 1956 by American psychologist Benjamin Bloom and colleagues and described in the book Taxonomy of Educational Objectives, the cognitive domain. The first level is based only on memorization and recall of information. Keywords for tasks at this level include define, describe, name, label, recognize, state, retrieve. The second level, comprehension. It is based on understanding the meaning and restarting the main idea. Keywords summarize, explain, defend, paraphrase, illustrate. The third level, application, requires the learner to use information or apply a concept in a new situation. Keywords adjust, retrain, construct, model, predict. The analysis level developed higher order thinking skills through tasks the comparing, contrasting, separating, marking, highlighting, classifying, distributing information. The synthesis level focuses on forming skills of generalization, combination, grouping, restructuring that create something new. The evaluation level develops thinking skills that help the learner make judgments about the value of received information. Keywords evaluate, critique, express opinion, justify, prove, support. Next slide. Importance of criterion-based assessment. For teachers, develop criteria that lead to qualify results. Obtain data that helps differentiate and plan future activities. Improve the quality of teaching. Plan the scope of learning of each individual considering students' unique characteristics. Use various assessment methods. Make suggestions to ensure the accessibility of the curriculum. For students, use different learning methods that enhance cognitive abilities and thinking levels. Understand the assessment criteria that lead to success. Receive feedback by evaluating themselves and others. Think critically, play freely, and demonstrate their knowledge. For parents, become familiar with evidence of their child's knowledge quality. Monitor the success of their child's learning. Provide guidance to support learning. Effectiveness of the criterion-based assessment system. This enables teachers to objectively evaluate students' academic achievements, helps students understand and assess difficulties encountered during learning, provides parents with objective evidence of their child's academic performance. When assessing students' learning outcomes, a range of skills is used including knowledge, comprehension, application, critical thinking, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. Research skills. And the last one is reflection and communication skills, language skills. Individual work skills, teamwork skills, data researching skills, practical skills, creative skills, and use of IT skills. Speaking about descriptor. Descriptor is a description of the level of success. The effectiveness of criterion-based assessment develops a competitive, educated, business-oriented person with developed thinking, prone to logical conclusions and free thinking, promotes further development of knowledge and thinking through individual work, improves the quality of students' knowledge. It is the only assessment method that directs a student's personal orientation toward an active position. Represents a creative assessment system that leads to self-responsibility, personal results, and purposeful growth. Criterion definition. A criterion is a rule-based justification for decision-making in assessment according to specified requirements. Descriptors for each criterion, for each specific task, provide a clear understanding of the correctness of the result of completing a school assignment. Assessment according to the descriptor determines the student's achievement of the set goal. Significance of criterion-based assessment in modern education. In today's education system, the focus is not only on students' knowledge, but also on goals such as developing students' competencies, personal qualities, proper interaction with the environment, self-development, and improving self-education. Criterion-based assessment is thoughtfully designed to meet all these goals and objectives. Main features of criterion-based assessment. Predefined grading scale, clarity, fairness of grades, provides the opportunity for self-assessment. Next slide. Key principles underlying assessment for learning. The primary priority on its development and practical application is to help students learn. Teacher and student assessment can support learning by providing information used as feedback for self-assessment and peer assessment. A joint study by Black and William with the Assessment Reform Group in the United Kingdom showed that improving learning through assessment is linked to 5 deceptively simple key factors that should be integrated into teaching. Providing effective feedback to students, actively involving students in self-directed learning, which in turn engages them in self-assessment. Transforming teaching based on assessment results. Recognizing that assessment largely promotes students' self-assessment and interests, which in turn radically enhance learning. Developing peer collaboration skills by ensuring students can access themselves to understand how to improve learning and participate in peer assessment. The power of knowledge for a brighter future. The strength that makes the future brighter than the present lies only in knowledge. The prosperity of any country depends on the level of its national education system and its development direction. At the current stage, a new education system oriented towards a global educational space has been developed in the sovereign country. One of the main tasks set for teachers is the continuous improvement of teaching method and mastery of new pedagogical technologies. The use of various new technologies in modern education is being implemented in practice and shows results. They create conditions for the formation of students' cognitive power, expanding and deepening knowledge, and revealing students' personal qualities. To become a teacher, the main thing is to choose the right teaching method. New pedagogical technologies enhance students' personal power and play a key role in developing creative thinking. Today, the level of knowledge and technology developments provides conditions for qualitative and deep learning for every student. The effectiveness of using new technologies in the classroom is evident. What interested me in this program is that the child himself searches and proves. Previously, the child was a listener. Now they are a seeker, thinker, and arguer of their ideas, and the teacher asked as a guide, as an organizer of this process. The word of the great enlightener Ahmed Baitursunov: only when the teacher is continuous search can the student shed light on the soul. Theme addressed to curious, innovative teachers. Purpose of this section. The main goal is to demonstrate the effectiveness of formative assessment in improving the quality of students' learning and to encourage students to consistently apply formative assessment strategies and feedback techniques in their teaching practice. Speaking about objectives, to define the type of assessment: theoretical, summative, and formative. To identify the positive impacts on formative assessment on learning quality. To determine the learning difficulties that students encounter during the educational process. To explore and apply effective methods and strategies of formative assessment in teaching. Formative and summative assessment. Formative helps students to learn and practice. When? Throughout the course. Why? Identify gaps and improve learning. How? Via approaches that support specific students' need. And about summative. Assess students' performance when? The answer of this question at the end of the instructional period. Why? Collect evidence of students' knowledge, skill, or proficiency. How? Via exit learning products of a cultivative assessment. Students' awareness and assessment. The student becomes aware of how well they have mastered the topic. Without testing knowledge, a student cannot deeply, comprehensively, and correctly evaluate their knowledge. By receiving assessment, the student has the opportunity to improve their school and homework, develop good qualities, and eliminate gaps in knowledge, skills, and competencies. Testing and assessing knowledge, skills, and competencies also contribute to upbringing. Students develop ideas about their own learning, successes, and failures, and they strive to overcome difficulties. Assessment makes the student reflect on themselves. Responsibilities. Define types of assessment: theoretical, summative, and formative. Identify the positive impact of formative assessment on the quality of knowledge. Identify learning difficulties. Review and apply effective approaches and strategies of formative assessments. Next slide. About formative assessment. So formative assessment allows teachers to monitor students' academic progress in the classroom. Formative assessment is conducted in two ways. Holistic assessment, evaluating the overall level of students' development in a short period by individually assessing abilities defined by the learning objectives. And the second one is analytical assessment, gradual observation and evaluation of specific skills expected from students over a longer period. Using formative assessment technology creates feedback between the teacher and the student, which contributes to increasing the student's knowledge level. The student observes themselves, chooses their actions, and evaluates their result independently, with the teacher continuing to support this process. In this way, the child develops key competencies by gaining experience in goal setting, planning expected outcomes, and evaluating them. Whatever type of feedback is used, the teacher should highlight what the students did best. In case of mistakes, the teacher must provide specific recommendations related to improving the student's performance. Self-assessment and peer assessment. Another crucial component of formative assessment is self-assessment and peer assessment. Self-assessment is not self-evaluation, but a form of evaluative activity linked to the overall assessment process. Self-assessment algorithm. So, what needs to be done to complete the task? Was the task done correctly, or were there mistakes? It's like reflection. Did the student complete the task fully on their own or rely on someone's help? What skills were developed while completing the task? The meaning and purpose of assessment. It is no coincidence that the term assessment comes from a Latin word meaning to sit beside, because a key characteristic of assessment is that one person carefully observes that another says and does, or their independent thinking, understanding, or discipline under self-control. To conduct an assessment, it is necessary to determine what students know and can do, as well as what problems they might face. Modern assessments should be diverse, clear, psychologically comfortable, and two components, summative and formative. The goal of summative assessment is to summarize what the student had learned at a given moment. It is carried out by teacher in the form of tests, exams, etc., and graded by the teacher. Requirements for effective formative assessment. Students need to know and understand the learning goal. The goal should be broadly formulated and phrased as a question. It is essential to fully understand the expected outcome for the student. Results should align with a specific measurable and controllable goal. Provide effective feedback to students. Summative assessment. Summative assessment is a type of evaluation that measures students' learning outcomes at the end of a unit, course, or academic term. Its main purpose is to determine how well students have achieved the learning objectives and to assign grades or marks based on their performance. Unlike formative assessment, which is conducted during the learning process to provide feedback and improve instruction, summative assessment focuses on the final results of learning. It's often considered an assessment of learning rather than for learning. Next slide. Working with descriptors. How to formulate clear criteria, the role of descriptors in criterion-based assessment in modern education. In the modern education system, the assessment process aims to objectively and clearly reflect students' achievements. One of the main components of criterion-based assessment in the English language subject is the descriptor. What is a descriptor? Descriptor is an indicator of what a student should be able to do to successfully complete a specific learning task in a clear and measurable form. For the teacher, a descriptor serves as a criterion to evaluate students' performance. For the students, it acts as a guide that helps them understand the requirements of the task clearly and directs how to complete the work. Principles for formulating descriptors. When creating descriptors, it's essential to ensure they are clear, specific, measurable, accessible. And often, teachers use value phrases like speaks well or fully conveys, which provide no clear guidance for either students or teachers. Therefore, a descriptor answering the question, what can the student do, should give a precise response. For example, the student can correctly use 5 new words. the student conveys the main idea of the text in 2 sentences. Methodological principles for English teachers when creating descriptors. Alignment with learning. So, descriptors must be based on the learning goal. For example, if the goal is the students can use the present simple tense, their descriptors should be describes daily activities and conducts 3 sentences. Demonstration of application level. Descriptors should not only show theoretical knowledge, but also the ability to apply, interpret, and create. For example, instead of does not know how to ask questions, use constructs 3 types of questions. Simple and understandable language. Especially for descriptors aimed at students, use words that are clear to them instead of complex scientific terms. Measurability. Descriptors should measure result concretely. For example, the text conveys content. Is vague compared to name three main events in the text. Next slide. Descriptor formulation. Teachers ask themselves, what should the students know and be able to do by the end of the lesson? This focus provides the students with a clear goal of the opportunity to self-assess their work. Example, oral storytelling task on the topic traveling. Learning goal can compose a short story on the topic. Criterion, the student deliver a presentation about traveling. So descriptors can be as follows. States the direction and purpose of the journey in 2 sentences. Name 4 items necessary for the trip. Expresses their opinion in 1 sentence. Each descriptor is clear, concise, measurable, and understandable to the student. This approach avoids confusion during assessment for both students and teacher. Benefits of effective descriptors. An effective descriptor not only simplifies the teacher's assessment process, but also helps students understand where they made mistakes and how to improve next time. This enhances the quality of feedback and promotes students' self-reflection. Thus, working with descriptors, it's an important methodological tool that enhances the professional competence for English teachers. It ensures transparency and fairness in assessment and guides the students toward achieving learning goals. Teachers should formulate descriptors clearly, concisely, measurably, and understandably. Suggested descriptor for examples for English language skills. Listening. The student understands the content and identifies key information. Criteria can find the main idea and details in the listened text. Descriptors summarize the main idea for the text in 1 or 2 sentences. Names 3 key facts or details. Correctly uses 2 new words from the text. So about reading skills. Learning goal, the student can find, understand, and retell information from the text. Criteria, reads the text with comprehension and answers questions. So you can do the descriptors like this. Answers 3 questions correctly about the text, states the main idea in 1 sentence, matches 5 new words with their meanings. So let's speak about writing skills. Learning goal, the student can compose a short text on a given topic. Criteria, uses basic structure and vocabulary in written work. So descriptors will be as follow. Writes a text consisting of 5-6 sentences. Correctly uses present simple or present continuous tense. Uses at least 3 linking words. Speaking skills. Learning goal, the student presents an oral talk on a topic. Criteria, answers questions and expresses their opinion. Descriptors will be as follows. Constructs 4 or 5 sentences expressing personal thoughts. Correctly uses 3 new words. Maintains tone and manner of voice during conversation. Next slide, general summary. Formative and summative assessment play a vital role in the teaching and learning process. Formative assessment helps teachers monitor students' progress and provide ongoing feedback to improve learning, while summative assessment measures the final achievement of learning outcomes at the end of a course or unit. Both types of assessment are closely connected and support effective instruction. Developing clear descriptors is essential as they define specific criteria for evaluating students' performance, ensure fairness, and make assessment transparent and objective. In summary, well-designed formative and summative assessments supported by clear descriptors enhance the quality of education, promote students' reflection, and foster continuous improvement in learning. Thank you for attention.